Right, so at this point, theoretically, you guys know what's going on as far as doing all your different colors. So I've gone through and I finished up my Superman coloring here. Now, it looks pretty cool. I mean, I will say it's probably the greatest picture ever, but, you know, it is. And what's neat, too, is whenever you guys have your drawings, they're all done, you can kind of rub your hand across them, and it feels all lumpy. It's fun. Anyway, wait till they're dry. Don't do that, otherwise it'll smear. Anyway, so I've got my picture, it looks cool, but now I need to reinvigorate all this nice black space, right? I've got all these cool outlines for my comic that I've really diligently transferred onto here, but it kind of gets lost in the picture, right? So what I want to suggest for you is basically go ahead and grab some black paint that's just black temper paint. I put it in a cup, you can put it in the little trays, it's just easier for me doing the demo with a cup. So whenever you're painting with the black, there's really no magical mystery to it, but I wanted to show you a couple different effects. So I know some of your comics have these kind of like action-y, like whoosh lines, right? And some of them have like where the line is kind of hairy. Do you see what I mean? Like this kind of like that thing, right? Some of you guys have that. And those are going to be the hard things to paint, right? Painting just, you know, a big void of black is easy. You get paint on a paintbrush, paint, 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 done deal. You might want to do maybe 2 or 3 coats as well of black or even of like your blue color. But, black paint. But what I wanted to show you is basically just the idea of kind of pushing and or pulling, right? So when you were a kid in kindergarten, you probably used this exact same kind of paint. And you painted, blah, 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 I'm a great painter, look at me go. Right? But a couple things, right? A, it gets brushstrokey looking, right? So that's not like a way cool, beautiful picture. In fact, you can kind of see there's like just fuzzy brushes everywhere. If you get this weird fuzz going on or you can see brushstrokes, again, let it dry and paint a second coat nice on top. It'll make it very, very crisp and clean. So don't get weird fuzzy brushes. Cool? That's just part one. Now, you might be tempted to cake the crap out of your paper, right? Like, really like, that's the best black ever. And I don't know why you're making sounds like a pirate, but you want to, apparently. I will tell you, yeah, like Cookie Monster, that's fine. So I will tell you this. Sometimes less is more, and this is a prime example, right? Not that you want to have, like, nothing on your paintbrush. You want to load it up pretty nice. But as I'm painting, you'll see, like, okay, kind of painting, having a good time, nice and solid, everything's going well. Having a great time. Oh, God, it's starting to look. There's the fuzzies. This red jerk fuzzies. I hate them, right? So just kind of get in the habit of going back to the well and keeping it going. Oh, getting some more fuzzies. Go back to the well and keep it nice. And it's thin, but it's solid, right? Does that make sense? It's not rocket science, but it's just something that kind of helps to see in person. The last thing is this. As for those little action lines and whatnot, remember, obviously, the way a paintbrush is actually constructed, right? So you've got kind of the handle of the paintbrush. This is like Inception. I'm painting a paintbrush. Oh! And then you've got kind of the bristles of the paintbrush, right? It is thin toward the top. Look, I've already run out of ink. It is thin toward the top and thicker toward the middle, right? So if I press, I get a wider stroke, right? If I don't press nearly as hard and I let the tip do the work for me, I can get a much thinner stroke, right? So don't attack the canvas by like pushing down on the paintbrush. It will just ruin it, right? And it gets all fuzzy, it's not good. So if you got those little action-y lines, just kind of retain. If it helps, sometimes I'll like actually rest on my pinky, right? And I literally will kind of just gently, and if you need, grab a piece of scratch paper, I have a couple if you need it, and just kind of get comfortable making strokes. That's it, super easy. If I have one of those lines that have the little fuzzies on it, maybe I will paint it nice and solid first. So let's say this shape, right? Nice and solid. And then I go through, grab a little bit of paint, and I go through and I make it kind of fuzzy. Right? Now, the last thing I'm going to mention is this. There are a couple different techniques, and I want you guys to kind of experiment a little bit, maybe on a piece of scratch paper before you jump into your good stuff. Whenever you're making these little lines, experiment which feels more comfortable to you, because you can make a pulling line, where if I pull, you'll see it's fatter toward the top and skinnier toward the bottom, basically as I'm pulling up, right? Like a little paint stroke wispy, okay? Or I can push, which again, vice versa, goes fat toward the bottom and thin toward the top. Now I will tell you this, personally, I'm more of a puller. I feel I have more control whenever I pull, right? I've met plenty of people who prefer going backwards. I think they're insane. I feel whenever I go backwards, whenever I'm pushing my paintbrush, I feel that I have like literally no control and it could go anywhere. But that's me. So find out what works for you. See, I'm pointing at you. Okay, all right. Any questions with that? Like I said, it's super short demo. It is the shortest in the world. But again, take your time. If you need some practice paper, please just grab some out of your sketchbook, or I can give you a whole bunch. I've got a whole stack of it. But take your time. Make sure your colors are done first, and then apply the black to them. And I promise you this, as you're going along and you start applying on your black paint, which might not be until tomorrow, but as you do, your picture is going to look bad A really quickly, because black paint makes everything cooler. I promise. Okay? Cool? That's it. Go for it.